I got it here. Before we get into the book, this is like the last city on my long cross-country tour. Starting in New York, Connecticut, and all that, and then I went to Miami. Nobody cares, but I'm going to say it anyway. Miami, Vero Beach, and Stuart, Florida. Atlanta, Chicago for the book festival, then down to Dallas, and Phoenix, and San Diego, and here. I take the red eye out tonight, so. But I look okay, right? Actually, ask how many. Book just came out a couple of weeks ago. How many people read? Oh, maybe a couple, so I can give away the. I can give the. Not Nightfall. Sorry, I'm ready to Angel. I can give away the ending. No. So I was here. It's been a long time. I know Elaine. I've done Elaine for years. I was here in New York sometimes, but it's actually 15 years since I've been here. Year 2000. Was anybody here then? Yeah. You are.
I'm not holding
them. 15 years. But this is a great store. This is one of the legendary stores in the publishing business, one of the great independents. But let me talk about Radiant Angel. This is the 7th John Corey book. A little bit about John Corey and where he came from. And how many people read the first John Corey book, Plum Island? Almost everybody.
All of them. All of them.
All of them. Great. Well, Plum Island was the first John Corey book, and it wasn't meant to be the beginning of a series, and you've all read it, so you can, when you read it, you realize it was just a standalone book. All my books had been standalone. They'd all been different subject matter. I don't stay in the same genre. Some were mysteries, some were Vietnam novels. And this was just another book. Plum Island was an idea that I had for many years. I live on Long Island, so I was familiar with Plum Island, the Animal Research Center, and I was familiar with Captain Kidd's Treasure, which is what the book is about. I just took two ideas and I put them together. Captain Kidd's Treasure, if you live on Long Island, you're a kid, every time you go to the beach, you bring a shovel, and my father used to encourage me to dig holes to look for Captain Kidd's treasure. Never found it, but I figured this book, this thing can still make me money if I play my cards right. So I merged these two ideas, and I wrote this book, Plum Island, and that was the end of it. And then I moved on to something else, my book afterward. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it wasn't another John Corey book. And but then what happened, something that doesn't normally happen, we get this fan mail that was coming in. Usually it's about the book and plot, and all this fan mail was about John Corey, John Corey, John Corey. Like I created this thing, and you kind of realize that you probably hit on something. But again, I didn't want to do a series, but my publisher said to me, she said, look, Nelson, you could do a series on this guy, John Corey. And I said, but I don't like series. I mean, I read them, but I don't do them. I've never done it before. And there's a lot of challenges in doing a series, and I'd just rather do my standalone books. And then she showed me the sales reports, and she said, well, maybe John can make like one more appearance. And that was the Lions game, and then the rest is kind of history. So this is the 7th John Corey. But one of the challenges with a series is that it can get old. It's a first-person narrative. You got to really be with that character the whole time. I didn't feel like Corey was getting old, but I felt like maybe what he was doing was getting old. In the first book, Plum Island, he was not on the Joint Terrorist Task Force, or as I call it, the Anti-Terrorist Task Force. But after that, all the books was with John and his wife, Kate Mayfield, who was an FBI agent, working at a 26 Federal Plaza in Manhattan. And you know, and it was, obviously each book was timely. Why was it timely? Because this is the world we live in now. But I started getting to the point where I said, I'm really tired of the subject, but I'm really not tired of the character per se. So in this book, and only a few people read it, and I won't give away too much of it, I got him another job. He's still a contract agent, he's still within the FBI, but now he's working for a group called the Diplomatic Security Group. He's kind of been pushed out because his boss, Tom Walsh, doesn't like him. His wife is kind of tired of his nonsense, giving a lot of problems in the office. Diplomatic Security Group, this is a real organization, it's actually called Special Surveillance Group, but the Diplomatic Surveillance Group, I should say, in this book, about 140, 150 men and women in Manhattan, mostly Manhattan, and their job is to watch diplomats from the UN diplomats, and also consular officials from the consulates all over New York. And the idea is that some of these people, they don't watch them all, obviously they watch the bad guys, they watch the Iranians, they watch the North Koreans, they watch the Cubans, and they watch the Russians. So I thought this would be something different. It gets me away from what Corey was doing, but he's still within this world, so to speak. And he is in a job that the FBI calls a quiet end, which, by the way, is the name of this book in the UK. They like my title, but my publisher didn't like my title. That's why it's called Radiant Angel. But more on the title later. So John's in his quiet end job, meaning dead end job, but he knows it's a dead end job, and he's kind of frustrated with it. So the book opens, as the first chapter is kind of a prologue chapter. The second chapter is John Corey, and he's sitting in a surveillance vehicle outside the Russian mission to the UN in the East 60s, and with him is not his wife, because she's an FBI special agent, but a partner. And I had my choice now. Should the partner be an older guy, or should the partner be a beautiful young woman? So, let me think. So the partner is Tess Faraday. She's young and she's bright, and she's I believe, Harvard law grad. I gave her a degree in some law. And she wants to be an FBI agent. So this is like a trainee position, and many people do start off that with doing surveillance. It gets their street cred, so when they apply to the FBI, they've got that behind them. And there's a typical banter between John and this young lady Tess, and they're waiting for a guy to come out of the building. They're waiting for Colonel Petrov. He's an SVR officer. And SVR is the successors to the KGB. And this is a guy who's a bad actor. They know that, but they don't think he's up to anything that day. It's a normal, routine surveillance. But it is a Sunday morning, and for some reason he went to work. And finally he comes out of the building with two other Russians who Corey can't identify, and a driver, and they get into their Mercedes 550, and off they go. And they leave Manhattan, and they're heading east out on Long Island. And the Russians are not allowed. A lot of countries, the diplomats are not allowed within a certain amount of, in the Russians' cases, 25 miles from Columbus Circle in Manhattan. They can't go past that. If they go past that, they're breaking the rules, so to speak. But the Russians keep going there, more than 25 miles. Corey decides not to call it in, not to stop them, but to follow them, to see where they're going, because this is John Corey. Anybody else might have called it in and said, hey, they're out of the area, so we gotta get them back. And they go all the way out to the east end of Long Island, and where a Russian oligarch named Tamarov owns a $50 million house on the ocean in Southampton on Gin Lane. You're at all familiar with the island. I had to call a realtor out there. I said, what's the house on Gin Lane go for? She said, she thought she had a hot one on the line. Just, ballpark. She was ballpark 50 million. I said, I'll call you back. So, and I won't give away the whole plot, but Petrov and his two buddies and the driver drive into the estate, and doors and gates closed. So Corey's job is surveillance. He's got to keep the guy in sight at all times. If he's not in sight, he has to at least know that he can't get away. Like when he's in a Russian mission, there's only one door in, one door out. But now he's in a place where he could go out the back onto the beach, and he can go on a boat, and he could theoretically disappear. So Corey's a little upset because he's lost his guy, and his only job is to keep this guy in sight. And but then along comes a catering truck, which I can put in because I wrote the book. And a catering truck comes. Corey stops the catering truck, and he and Tess get in the catering truck and put on white smocks, and then they go to the Russian party, which is now I think chapter 4 or 5. But the party is a good party. It's Russian hookers, and they're drinking and vodka, and having this typical Russian party, right? And Tess says to Corey, "What the hell did you get me into? This is like." But Corey's happy that, and I think that hopefully the reader's happy to see this, party unfold. And then something happens, which I won't give away because it will give away the book. But that's the setup for this. Corey again, contract agent. He's still in that world. But we're not doing Middle East terrorism. So there were two themes that I try to bring together in this book, and the one is that Russia is resurgent. I started writing this book 2 years ago, before the Crimea was annexed and before the Ukrainian problem. Excuse me, I've been doing this for 2 weeks. We got water. You don't have to be a genius or a geopolitical scientist to understand that the Russians are resurgent. But Corey's Corey says in the book, we're not paying enough attention because we're obsessed with Islamic terrorism. We're not paying attention to what this guy Putin is doing, and we're obsessed with China, we're obsessed with Iran, we're obsessed with terrorism in general, and maybe a little bit of North Korea. But it's the Russians he feels is the existential danger to America. He feels that way because he, like me, is a product of the Cold War. He remembers when the Russians, were dominant, when they were the second, most powerful country in the world. And now, of course, they really are. I mean, there are other countries out there who are players, but the Russian Federation today has about the same capabilities as the old Soviet Union, meaning they have a nuclear submarine fleet that's second to none in the world except ours. I mean, and nobody has this kind of a nuclear submarine fleet. They've got tens of thousands of nuclear warheads still. So if you call them the Soviet Union, it would be the same military that was, that was able to project its power in the 70s and 80s and into the 70s and 80s. So this concerns Corey. Again, he's a product of the Cold War. I'm a product of the Cold War. And he has the feeling that nobody's paying attention to what's happening. That Washington, not any particular administration, but just Washington in general, the State Department Intelligence, and he thinks even the CIA thinks of working on the Russian desk is kind of a dead-end thing, just like he's in a dead-end thing, because the hot stuff is Islamic terrorism. So that's one of the themes of the book. There's a research on Russia, and Washington's not paying attention. A lot of this book has to do with seaport security. It's hard to mention it without, it's hard to talk about it without giving away the plot. I'm going to give away the plot. Okay, but Radiant Angel, let me talk about the title. Radiant Angel is a code name for a nuclear sweep operation. These NEST teams, N-E-S-T, which is an acronym for something like nuclear. Most cities have them. San Francisco has one. Every major city has a NEST team. And what they do is they make a sweep and they're looking for radiation sources, signatures here, there, and everywhere. Very sophisticated devices. You can pick up radiation at hundreds, even they tell me a quarter of a mile if you're pointing in the right direction. So they do these sweeps, and these nuclear detection operations are called Radiant Angel operations. So that's where the title comes from. So by now you've figured out that this has something to do with a nuclear threat. So about 2 or 3 years ago, before I actually started this book, I have friends and sources at 26 Federal Plaza, and I asked one of these guys, what's your biggest fear? And he said seaport security, not so much airport security, not so much native-born terrorists. Seaport security, he says, has got many, many holes in it. Seaports are nowhere near as secure as airports. Planes originate from known locations, and they're all kind of checked out at both ends. Boats come from strange places. They can come from, some African or Asian country where the security is non-existent in the seaports. Anything can be loaded on board. They come into American harbors, New York, San Francisco, LA, New Orleans, pretty much without a lot of what you would call vetting, the way planes do. There are tens of millions of tons of goods that come into the country by sea, and only 3%, usually around 3% of most seaports, 3% is physically inspected. Most of it is not inspected. But every harbor in America has sophisticated radiation detectors in case there was something aboard one of these boats, being a dirty bomb or a suitcase nuke. And the detectors will pick up the radiation unless it's been very, very well shielded. But as this guy, this FBI guy was saying to me, he says, so you picked it up in New York Harbor on a boat, he realizes, he says, but it's too late. You've got the boat in the harbor as opposed to, again, airport security. And whatever the intent of that boat is, it's got a nuclear or radiation signature. What do you do next? And if the boat is big enough, I said, could the boat be boarded? He said, yes, of course, by the Coast Guard. But if you're talking about a huge cargo ship, it would be very difficult to board them in some cases because they're so high. And the thing could theoretically sail right into the harbor and bully its way in. He said, it was kind of interesting. New York Harbor, for instance, has about 15 or 20 artillery batteries that have all been decommissioned. He said we should bring these back because the only way you're going to blow a big boat out of the water, but then again, you can't blow it out of the water because you suspect that it's got radiation radiation signature on board, because it may be something else that would emit radiation, something not lethal. So with that idea, when he said that, I decided, well, all right, this is a good topic, seaport security. And that's what this book is about. Did I give away too much? But you know that John Corey saves the day at the end, right? So that's how I came to write the book. We are going to take questions later, so think of some questions. So these are the two themes, and the other thing I was trying to do here is kind of freshen up the character, because when you get a very popular character, you know, it's easy to ride on this, ride on this guy's coattails. I mean, he pays the rent for me, we love him, but you can get tired of him, right? And this is what happened with Conan Doyle. He got so tired of Sherlock Holmes, he killed him, Everybody I know, I mean, maybe not everybody, most authors I know, big authors, and I won't mention names, but you know who they are, who have a series character, really secretly hate them. I hate them with a passion. I get sick of them, book after book after book. But I break up the Corey books with other books sometimes. But still, I was getting a little tired of the guy. I was getting a little tired of Kate, and I was getting tired of the whole thing. I said, you either leave it alone and let it end there, or kill him the way, and my publisher, by the way, when I was working on the manuscript, the working title was A Quiet End. And she said, God, are you killing John Corey? I said, no, don't tempt me, So I was trying to give him a different kind of a job. Kate's out of the picture in this book, and she's in Washington on business. So there's a new lady involved. She's not a love interest per se, but she may be. I think of the Sherlock Holmes thing. I always use this story. I mean, so Conan Doyle's sick of the guy, and he gives him. He has Professor Moriarty, they're fighting, and they go over the Reichenbach Falls. So 7 years ago, I was in Switzerland. I was like, I gotta go to the Reichenbach Falls to see if indeed anybody can survive this fall. And you can't survive the fall. But Conan Doyle was smart. He said, I'm gonna kill him, but I don't want the body found, because if the body's found, we got a problem bringing him back. And of course, it was, more Sherlock Holmes after that very, very famous scene. But again, I went there, I was with somebody, and I said to this guy, I said, could you survive that fall? He said, no, he's dead, Sherlock Holmes is dead. So, I think most writers have the same challenges when they're doing a series. They become known by the series, and especially if the series goes, like Michael Connelly with Harry Bosch, and if it goes onto TV, you're kind of locked into it. And this is good and bad. People think that writing a series character is easier because it's the same character, but it's actually more difficult because the baggage starts to build up as past cases and that type of thing. And you want to make it episodic, you want to make them all standalone books, but you want to tie them in at the same time. And the other challenge is that, the character starts to get older, we get older, I get older, character gets older. Years ago, about 15 years ago, I think it was, when Agatha Christie died, the New York Times had an obituary, but not for Agatha Christie, it was for Hercule Poirot, a character. They put it on the front page, very clever. And they talked about the death of Hercule Poirot. Agatha Christie's obituary was in the inside page. But whoever was writing the article was very clever. They estimated Poirot's age at 103, which is probably about right. You create a character who's middle-aged or a little younger than middle-aged, and then the character is successful. And 30 years later, this guy is still 35 years older. So you can't do that. That's another one of the challenges. So here we fudge time in this book. We don't know exactly what it is. We know it's post 9/11. We don't know the exact year. So I'll talk a little bit about our next book, then I'll take some questions. The next book is not a John Corey book. The next book is, I don't know who, but it's not John Corey, but I know the theme. And people ask me where I get my ideas. About maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, my son went to Yale. I always like to say that, but I have a reason to sign it here. He gets his mail at my house. I don't know why, but he gets his mail at my house. So this brochure comes in from the Yale travel group saying, we're going to Cuba. Would you like to join us? And so I was going to give it to him and call him and say, hey, you want to go to Cuba? And I was thinking maybe I want to go to Cuba. And this was about the same time as the president was trying to make his opening to Cuba. So I said to myself, this is a good thing. Anyway, long story short, I signed up. I'm going October 26th to Cuba, and I think it's going to be a fascinating book. there's so much history that we have with the Cubans going back to the Batista days and the Cuban Missile Crisis, and then the takeover, Castro's takeover on New Year's Day. All very dramatic stuff, and it's a great setting for a book. This book, I've already written chapter 1. I didn't do the Cuba research because I haven't been there, but the book opens in a bar. I did that research. It opens in the Green Parrot Bar in Key West. Anybody been there, the Green Parrot Bar? You guys are West Coast, so you don't know. It's a very famous bar. It's been around forever. It's like one of these things out of, out of a movie. Old tropical-looking bar in Key West, and so the first scene is it opens in a bar, and my hero, I'm creating this guy. It's kind of like a fishing boat captain, and some Cuban exiles, anti-Castro types, come to him, and they say, "We want to be taken to Cuba." And he said, "I don't do this. I just do fishing and sightseeing and excursions and whatever." And he says, "I'm sorry, you wasted your time coming down from Miami. I'm not interested." And then one of the Cubans says, $4 million. And he says, "Well, let's sit down and talk." Well, that's the opening scene, and I'm anxious to go to Cuba. If I don't get arrested, I'll have a book done by next year. I think I covered all the topics. We're okay for time. We have time for questions.
Time for question.
You have a question?
No, I don't.
No, you don't?
No.
Okay.
I have a question. Are you ever
Yes.
going to bring back the characters that were in Gold Post and the Gatehouse?
Oh, the Sutters?
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of tired of the Sutters, too. I mean, it did it, I mean,
That's over.
The major motion picture was made, and the Bregmans own it, Martin and Michael Bregman, who were partners with Pacino. They did Colito's Way and a bunch of other things. If they do make the Gold Coast, and it's a successful movie, not just commercially successful, but I think critically successful, if they really do a good job of it, the way The Godfather was done, I would certainly consider bringing it back. But right now, no. So,
Where did you get your inspiration for Charmsville?
Charmsville. How many people read Charmsville? What do I do ask? You're not even a plant, because that's the interesting story. It was I remember the month, it was April 1968. I was in Vietnam, I was an infantry officer, and I had to go someplace for some administrative thing. It was kind of a business trip. And I was up in the palm tree in the northern, the Eichler area, so I had to go through Wei Fu Bai, which was where the Air Force Base was. There was an officers club there. I thought I'd make a quick stop at the officers club because it was air conditioned and they were serving beer. So I stopped at the yacht club, and there's a bunch of pilots at the bar. And they were just, I don't forget this, they were fascinated by what it did. I'd never actually seen an infantry officer before, combat fatigues and the whole nine yards. They were asking me, how is it out there? Blah, blah, blah. It's like getting shot at. And I'm thinking, these guys are doing this every day. They're flying over North Vietnam getting shot at. But they were more fascinated by what I was doing, but I was fascinated by what they were doing. And then it came about the MIAs, the guys who were missing. It was a topic even then. Men were seen being shot down, bailing out, and landing safely on the ground, but never appearing on the POW lists. And there were so many cases of this. So one of these pilots, a couple of them said to me, well, what's happening is that these guys are being sent to Russia. They're being sent to Russia because the Russians are giving the North Vietnamese the surface air missiles to shoot down the planes. What they want in return is the pilots to debrief them on American fighter tactics and electronics and the whole 9 yards. And it made such sense. Of course, North Vietnamese and the Russians were allies. So all our pilots who were being shot down were not winding up in the Hanoi Hilton. Some of them were winding up in Russia. And it made total sense to me. And I remembered that, but I never thought of it as a novel. But then years later, when the MIA issue came up again, it was 1,000 people unaccounted for, mostly pilots. I said, I remember that incident, and I said, there's a story there. And that's how I created Charmsville. I went to Moscow, 87, it was 87, it was right after Chernobyl. And it was right after Nick Daniloff got arrested. He was a U.S. News and World Report. I think it was U.S. News or maybe Time. He had been arrested by the KGB. It was the height of the Cold War. Reagan was in the White House. The Cold War was at its very height, and I went to Moscow, and the place was so creepy. I said, God, this is like, it's a whole book here, and that's when the whole thing kind of came together for me. That's where it came from. Came as about as what I think might have been a true story, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah, answer that question. You want to go home? So, yeah, you want to go home, do you? Sir.
Yeah, how much time do you spend modeling and profiling your villains, like Assad Khalil?
The villains are tough, you know. That's easy to create a hero. How much time do I spend like creating them? Yeah, you know, especially when the villains are foreign. You know, you don't want to, you don't want to stereotype. It's not a good thing. You don't want to take some villain from central casting. The villains are tough. I think any American writer, male or female, can create nice people, you know, that we want to identify with. It's easy to identify. I mean, it's easy to create bad villains who are just one-dimensional. Paradise Lost, you know, I mean, the devil was actually more interesting than God, if you notice, if you read it in college. The devil really he was more, better presented. And I always remember that. I said, you know, the villain can be multi-dimensional. Assad Khalil was a tough one because I don't have a lot of information about Arabic culture, but I did have these guys in the task force who were very helpful. And they gave me a lot of just verbal information. They also gave me some things that were written and translated from Arabic. One of them I never forget was a will of a man who was going to become a suicide bomber. And he wrote this long will to his father, to his mother, explaining what he was doing and where he wanted his possessions to go, and talking about his brother. It was like a sad document almost. It was like, you know, it was a will and a testament at the same time. And I remember this is the first time I really thought I got into the head of, assuming the translation was fairly good, into one of these people. I mean, it was just amazing. It was in one way there's humanity in that, and in another way there's pure evil in this. This man was about to blow himself and others up, and he's writing this long, what amounts to a love letter to his family. And I said, God, you know, this is like, you know, I mean, you can't create this kind of stuff. This is truth is stranger than fiction. But it helped me maybe get into the head of Assad Khalil a bit, you know, maybe it helped. So on the other hand.
Any possibilities of some other films coming up based on your books?
The film thing, yeah, you know. The Corey series is basically owned by Sony Columbia. And they really want to develop it, but they told us we could co-develop, we could find somebody else. We were talking to Lionsgate Productions and a few other people. We're talking to HBO, and we're talking to TNT and AMC about doing a TV series, because the book, you know, it is a series, and it's supposed to develop as a feature film. The TV's got so much better that you can actually do this kind of thing, and it would do more justice, I think, to the book, because the book is like, it takes 12, 13 hours to read, you know. You can condense those into a 90-minute feature film, you're losing a lot, but when you do it as a TV series, you get more into it. So I think somebody's going to be interested. The rest of them, I say Gulf Coast is with the Bregmans, who've been telling me for 25 years that they're going to develop it. Charm School's with Bristol Bay Productions, which is a big independent, and they want to do it. It would be one of the few Cold War movies ever done. If you notice, you don't see many Cold War movies as feature films. See a little Cold War stuff in TV, but Hollywood is not touching the Cold War. They haven't really, and, you know, since it ended, basically. When I asked them why, they said when the Cold War's over. I said World War II is over. For God's sake. Do it. Somebody's got to do it first, and all of them have been optioned. And I was talking to somebody. One of the ones that was free and clear, that doesn't have an option or outright buy, is Spencerville, one of my least known books. But it wasn't maybe not the strongest novel, but it's a great movie. It was originally optioned by Paramount by Alan Ladd Jr., son of Shane. He wanted to direct or produce and direct before he did Braveheart. And it was interesting. Ben Affleck was interested in the part, which is one of the reasons they bought it. Well, it didn't come to anything, so I got the rights back, and my son is a screenwriter at UCLA. I paid a lot of tuition. I said, how can I get out of this? So I said, here's the book, read the book, and let's get a screenplay out of this. So he's almost done. I mean, I paid him like half up front, which maybe not a good idea. I should have been a third, but I got mad. Back in January, and it was supposed to be around now, but he's a good screenwriter. He's a very meticulous screenwriter. He actually does good screenplays. So, and it will be represented out here by ICM, who's my New York agents, but they have a branch out here. They said they're anxiously waiting to see the screenplay of Spencerville. So that might be a surprise possibility. It's quite possible that will be, it will be made, because when Hollywood gets a book, they're sometimes confused. They don't know what to do with the book, and they buy them. They don't know what to do with them. But when they get a screenplay, they can react more, succinctly to a screenplay. They can see it better for some reason. And the rest of them are, various stages of either development or turnaround or whatever. The only one that was made was General's Daughter. How many people saw General's Daughter? Oh gosh, yeah. I think it was a good film. I had no problem with it. Travolta did an amazing job, and the supporting cast did an amazing job. And the screenwriter was William Goldman at the end. He came and saved the screenplay. It was like a series of bad screenplays by 19-year-old kids out of UCLA, I'm sure. But Goldman came in and did Marathon Man, the book and the movie, and he kind of saved the whole thing. And it was, I had no problem with it. I mean, I didn't have any, any problem critically, and I made a lot of money for Paramount. They made a fortune, and for 10 years after, my agent and I got the royalty statement and said we didn't make any money in this film. They somehow hid $500 million. Isn't that amazing? I mean, only Hollywood could do that. So that's all right. We sold a lot of books based on the movie. So what are we doing for time, guys? We have maybe time for one more question. We got two people. We'll do two questions. Man.
Really great.
Are you guys together?
Yeah.
It's the same question? No.
I'm curious about the book you're writing now.
Yeah.
You said you got the first chapter done.
Yeah.
Now you're going to Cuba. How much of it do you know where it's going? Is your trip going to determine?
No, I mean, Cuba is, it reminds me of the Moscow trip. I had 3/4 of the book done before I could get to Moscow. It's the same here. I would love to be able to say, I can't write, let's take the rest of the summer off and September off and do nothing, but no, I can't. So I'm going to be writing the book. And I will sketch it in. I'll know where it's going. I don't have a lot of it done. I know what it's about, basically. And I think the Cuba trip will kind of, really make it real for me. And with Moscow, I had a lot of, problems. There was hard to get information before the internet. And when I was doing that book, it was like Red Square. Was there any traffic in Red Square? Nobody knew anything. So I said, I can't really go to this place. It turned out there is no, vehicle traffic. I've seen that vehicle traffic. And it turns out there isn't any. Cuba's the same way. There's not a lot of information. It's like terra incognita. There's a lot of information, but not the kind of information that a novelist would need to fashion a realistic book. So you really got to go there. And we'll talk to people who've been there. I have the plot in my mind, and I don't have an ending. If you have one, let me know. I mean, it's a chase and escape. It's a traditional, kind of. We call it chase and escape novel, so that it'll certainly end in a chase and escape. Okay, very good. So,
do you still have your author get-togethers in Manhattan? And if you do, okay.
I don't think I'm supposed to speak about the author get-together.
Oh, and do you have any good stories?
Well, we have this authors roundtable. Yes, I can really talk about it. I just can't mention the restaurant, as we're all sworn to secrecy. Well, you guys are in San Francisco, but I'm in New York. I can't say where we meet. We meet the first Tuesday of every month. And it's the authors roundtable, like the Algonquin roundtable, except we don't really talk about, like highbrow stuff. We talk about things like bitching about agents and royalty statements that nobody can read, that kind of thing. We're mostly complaining. So who is it? It's me, Holman Coben, Lee Child, Linda Fastine, Susan Isaacs, Justin Scott, I forget somebody. Lawrence Block. You guys read Lawrence Block? He's been around forever and ever. There's about 10 of us all together. We usually get 6, 7, depending what month it is. And it's kind of interesting because, this is like an isolated profession in many ways. You sit in a room all day and tell yourself stories, and for authors to get together is a good thing, I think, because we can really exchange information and and gossip. We do gossip about who's sleeping with whom. Do we talk about books? No, not really. And even, the other thing is, even if somebody like one time, Holman Coben, he was there and he just made the bestseller list that day, Not that day, but that Sunday, but nobody mentioned it, you know, so nobody said congratulations. That's all right, that's not what we're there for, so it's kind of interesting, maybe when I get to Nerva, I'm going to write a story about the authors round table. All right, I have to say that, first of all, thank you, but I'm supposed to say I'm on Twitter, Facebook, what's the other thing? Instagram. And I have a website, NelsonDeMille.net, and I have a newsletter. Some people here get the newsletter. I love the newsletter, yeah. Newsletter is good. I have fun with the newsletter. So, okay, let me say it again. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I hired a 25-year-old girl to do this. She's brilliant. I don't know what she's doing, but she's doing all my social media. And I pay her, and she does what I don't have the time or the inclination or the knowledge to do it myself. But I do my own newsletter, obviously. You can tell by when you read it that it's from me. And the website's kind of interesting, too. It kind of updates on what's going on. NelsonDeMille.net. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your patience.